I don't believe what the TV tells us, which brings us to the next thing. I wanted to talk about mad cow disease. Remember how that was in the news? It was like 20 years ago, where mad cow disease, a cow dies because it gets mad cow disease for whatever reason. This bad diseased cow infected with mad cow disease, they do grind up cattle and they do feed it to the other cattle, like cannibalism, right? They're not going to waste their meat. They're not going to waste resources. So then these cattle or pigs are eating other cattle mixed in with the grasses and however they feed them to make them nice and plump. Then the diseased cows went away. Well, it never went away, because let me tell you a quick story. Okay, my father-in-law, he was really cool. We were very close, and we'd hang out in the man cave in his house, right? It was cool. He was just like me and you, and until one day he wasn't, like literally overnight. And it started where he would stay at work late at night, just one night, and he lost track of time. Everyone went home for the night at like 5 o'clock, and he was still there at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. He lost track of time. He did other things that got crazier. He was losing his mind, and the first week, he was always sleeping. One of the things he did, I went over to visit him. He was literally just sitting up in bed with pillows propped behind his back, because he was always tired, and he was just out of it, like as if he was drunk. The second week, he became severely retarded, and I remember another time I went over there, 3-4 days later, he was sitting in the bed up, and there were mirrors on the dresser, tall mirrors you could see yourself in, and he was watching TV, and he kept telling me, "Hey, look, we're on TV." I'm like, and he was like laughing, "Hey, look, we're on TV." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then it dawned on me, he was seeing my reflection and his reflection in the mirror, okay, on the opposite wall, on the dresser, and he was waving. I'm like, what is he waving at? He was waving at me from the reflection. And when I saw him looking at me waving, he's like, "Look, we're on TV, we're famous." It just made me sad for him, because this stuff was happening like every hour, every minute. The third week, he was in a coma. I tried to force feed him. He was losing weight. I tried to feed him like fruits. He was like sleeping, and he was in a coma, and he wouldn't eat, and I didn't want him to choke. So I tried to do everything I could to get nourishment down him, and his mouth wouldn't open, and he was just there. Mad cow disease and CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, is alive and well. There's a lot of cases, and you can live without being on a machine. Your heart functions, your breathing functions. You're in a coma, but you don't need to be on a machine, any kind of breathing apparatus. In fact, I saw this one sad story where this family had like a 22 or 24-year-old daughter, and they kept her alive on the couch. She was literally just like on the couch. It was like a mannequin. And they would feed her intravenously. They just could not come to the realization that she's never going to be good again. She's never going to walk. She's never going to wake up. She didn't die. She was like a mannequin that breathed on her own, all right? She was technically brain dead, because like I said, the brain eats away at itself. It literally becomes Swiss cheese. But she could still brain, and the heart functions fine. In a side room, he took me to a side room, and he goes, "Look, I'm going to tell you this, between me and you. We see more cases at this hospital than I care to say." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I remember seeing it in the news like 18 or 20 years ago. He says, "No, it's still a thing." I'm like, "Really?" He says, "How many do you think happen?" I'm like, I don't know, one every 6 months, maybe. I don't know. He's like, "No, we see these weekly. The government is not going to release this information, obviously because of panic. People are not going to buy meat, and it's going to really hurt the meat industry, which is going to hurt the government, which is going to hurt everybody that pays off the government in the meat industry, and vice versa. They're all in bed with each other, blah, blah, blah." Like, do you think that the government is not in bed with the tobacco industry? You going to tell me that? You think the government is looking out for your best interest and that they don't want you to smoke? Are you kidding? With all the billions of dollars that tobacco brings in, First of all, it's taxable. Second of all, they're getting a cut from the tobacco companies. I'm not buying it. If you think that the government, if the government was truly interested in your health, they would do what they can to ban smoking altogether, and not have any sale of tobacco. Think about that for a second. So he also told me that it would cost about $15 to literally place some chemical or do something with the food that the cattle eat. It would literally cost, whatever the process is, he said it would literally cost $15 for like every 5,000 head of cattle or 10,000 head of cattle. I'm like, that's crazy. Why don't they do it? He goes, it costs money. And then if it ever gets out that they're doing that, that's admitting that there's a problem. Why are you doing this? Why? Then the chemicals are going to be analyzed, and then it's going to get found out that the cattle are being treated for X, and you're eating cattle that are being treated for X. Is this mad cow? It's going to be bad. Mad cow disease, CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease still exists, and for this reason is why I didn't eat meat for months, probably years. The government lies to you guys. It lies to everybody.